That's, I guess, pretty much it. Thank you again, Nico, for this presentation. It was a real help. And
so, first of all, thanks everyone for coming. This is the presentation I want to give, is why inclusivity matters and how we can make video games with it. So, first things first, who am I? First, a quick introduction. I'm Nico Bartels, and I'm from a lot of different places. First of all, I'm half Greek, half German. I was raised in a small village in Germany, and then Germany was too much for me, so I moved to Netherlands, which turned out to be very similar. But I studied there, so I was part of the international groups and tons of different people. And after Netherlands, after my study, I moved here to Romania for the last 2 years. I've also been volunteering for 6 consecutive years at DevCom, now Gamescom Dev. And they put a very big focus on inclusivity and getting people into the industry from all over the world. And it's a program where we help get students from every place into DevCom and help them network and find people to get into the industry. And so from my perspective, I wanted to share a few things that I learned over my years, just from any place that I come from and what I took with me about inclusivity. So, as you heard, like last month was Pride Month, and to wrap this up, just a quick summary of what Pride Month is. This is a picture from Bucharest from this year. It's a celebration of the LGBTQIA+ community, and it's also about raising the awareness about civil rights and to show that they are here, we are here. So there's so many people from the community, and they can sometimes feel invisible, so the month is about raising awareness about the group. So. But when you go back to the next month, is where did they go? Where are they? They feel like they are not part of the public image anymore, right? So are they in specific places? Are they in the niche scene? Or why is it different? And that's a more difficult question to answer because it goes back to basically history, right? So the best example we can give is the history of left-handedness. Everyone knows there's a few people who are left-handed. And around 1900s, a lot of people were taught in school to only use their right hand, even though they were left-handed. They were forced and even beat up in school. Both of my grandparents, my Greek and my German ones, were beat up in school when they were trying to write with the left hands. Both of them were left-handed. So this is something that did happen, not just in America, it happened here as well. And once people let people write how they wanted, it normalized around the rate of how many people are left-handed. And since then, no one really cares anymore, right? Like if you're left-handed writer, it's just normal and everywhere. So this is now where we get to the more sad part. In America right now, there's the institute, the Lincoln Institute, that talks about genocide and talks about alerts in the world. And this March, they said the 3rd red flag alert for genocide against anti-trans people, like against trans people in America. And same in, not maybe on the same level, but still very bad in Romania. Just now, this is a reel from the Pride Month, from the Pride Parade, and there were on Facebook on this single post over 5,000 comments, hate comments, death threats, right? And this is part of the reason why we have the Pride Month, is to show and celebrate the people for who they are and have a positive effect for them. So, but the bigger question is like, where does this even come from? It might feel natural, but it did come from some time ago. Colonialism. A good amount of time ago, lots of Western cultures went into the different continents and claimed them. They did that by killing a lot of people and by replacing their culture with their own. And I found out a lot about this when doing research for my game about ancient Egypt, right? They were colonized first by the Greeks, but then also later by, some of the Western cultures. It gets bad, right? But let's focus on this for one more second. What they did is they got into Egypt and they saw some of the pharaohs and they were like, oh, this one looks a bit more pale, like a light skin. And then they made a whole news article about how Western culture brought civilization to Egypt and how they were white, like some of the pharaohs. And this was everywhere in 1928, around that time, that changing of history happened in that particular instance. It's often also racially charged. Those historians or people who like excavate, archaeologists, those were often, they had ideas and then they needed to find ways to support them. And those ideas were unfortunately around the time that people were extremely fascist and racist. So they did erase the existing culture and replace it with their ideologies. So colonization is bad, right? And in our Western culture, we think the worst guy to exist is Hitler. He killed 6 million Jews, which is by no question absolutely horrible. But it doesn't get even close to other people that we rarely talk about. King Leopold II, for example, from Belgium, he was a king and he colonized Congo and he killed 10 to 20 million people just there, just in that country alone, and we barely talk about it. Those are the ones that he killed, and then he also mutilated a lot more, and it was an absolute massacre. And yeah, close to a genocide or just colonization in general. It is that bad. This is just in Congo. There's a bunch of different countries as well in Africa, and it happened everywhere, right? So the total amount of victims is stated somewhere on Wikipedia. I saw over 100 million, but it's hard to track. It's probably a lot more. There's not just in Africa, but it happened. It also happened in America, in both Americas, North and South. It's estimated over 1 billion total victims over all those times. And those are the numbers that we don't really talk about. All the cultures that were erased and replaced with our Western ideals. So what can we do is we can decolonize now, right? We can replace those ideas that we learned or got learned by the school systems, by history, how it was written by the winners, by learning about the cultures that were there before. For example, this one is from the indigenous people from Canada. And what they said is, at the beginning, Turtle Island, also meant as Earth itself, everything, was queer. So put another way, gender and sexuality were not understood in binary, either or terms, before the arrival of Europeans. They had a total of, I think it was 6 genders. It was male, female, it was male representing as female, female representing as male, and they had the two-spirited, which means both genders involved. This is now our idea of gender fluid or non-binary. And it didn't only exist in Canada. Those same ideas were present in a lot of different tribes in Africa. They were part of Asia as well.
Also in Albania, if you want something close to that.
I can imagine, right? So those ideas were in a lot of different cultures present, and then they were replaced by the colonizers. I did some more research on Egyptian specifically. I wanted to share a few things about that. For example, here is Idet and Uyu, 2 female pharaohs who were married. They were a couple. And this is the position you did to show that you were married to that partner. And they had statues like this. There were also 2 men kissing on some of those murals, and that was just accepted there. That was normal. Right? And just a few more things about the archaeologists that came and changed history. They saw this, and that changed everything for them. Because now they saw, oh, that's a pharaoh with red hair. How can we spin this? So what they did is they wrote a massive story about a blonde lady now. I don't know how they got to that quickly. How they were from the Nordic countries and bringing the culture and the good genes that they call like the Nordicomaniacs, and brought all the culture to Egypt. They could not, for the love of them, explain how Egypt got like how they progressed and how they learned all of these things. So they had to come up with some kind of racist ideology that then was widespread and believed everywhere. So now we talked about this part, but who else? Because this is by far not everyone. There's also the minority known as women, or at least they are treated as right? So something that I want to tie now a bit closer to video games is that almost half of the players are women, and yet we mainly still design for men. There's other places like women in leadership positions are considered aggressive instead of like a strong leader, because that's how people still expect women to be like. Then there's a different topic. I wanted to write a bit more about this. Sexist sexualization of women versus empowering sexualization. I don't want to... there is good sexualization, and I think it's a whole different topic to go about, but there's also lots of predatory versions of it. Then also women as protagonists in games still get a lot of backlash. Just now the new God of War game got teased. It's now the wife of Kratos, and people are pissed. We're still doing this in 2027, but that's but that's that topic, right? Yeah. There's also limitations and other differences, from physical to mental differences that you can have between people, and those are all things we can and should account for when thinking about inclusivity and how do we think about other people, right? It can be physical, and there's a bunch of things that we have done for them. And there's also mental things, like dyslexia, for example. You can have a font, dyslexia-friendly font in your game, or account for other things like this as well. So one example is different types of subtitles for different types of impairments, or like the severity of impairments. And then we got Tekken is my favorite example for how to make it really accessible for the ones that are most impaired. And they have shaders that you can apply. It's a bunch of different types, different shapes. So you can recognize just by the silhouette who you are and who you're fighting against. If you're just like, if you're like 10% eye vision, you can probably still play this. And I think that's insane. Like a strategic, tough game like Tekken, and you're still able to play it. Then there's other games where we go a bit into the discussion of difficulty versus inclusion. There's some games like to feature the auto win quick time event buttons, or like or other ways that get you through the game easier. Those are also things to include people that have either physical disabilities. There's people who can't hold a button down, so this is also for them. And yeah, also all other impairments. You can do one thing and you can cover multiple impairments and have the game ready for more people, or experience it for more people. Then yes, this one, the spider phobia, it's a classic. And then Disc Elysium and their dyslexia-friendly font. Yeah. So what can we do now? So what can we do is we can help represent, help with representation of LGBTQIA people, right? So we can highlight games that they made. This is what we did earlier. Thanks for highlighting these, and a couple more games and getting the thread going. We can also highlight minorities in the industry. For example, Lena Rain is now the musician for Minecraft, Celeste, and Guild Wars 2, and she's trans woman. Then we have representation in media. I really enjoyed Tokyo Godfathers, which is we'll get into it in a second. I have a few slides. Metroid, the first game to feature a female protagonist. People didn't know. It was just a pixel art and a robot character, and you had to 100% the game to unlock a picture of her, like a high-res picture of her taking the helmet off, and then you would see she's a woman. And that was groundbreaking then. That was the first time that was a female protagonist. Then Celeste, also talking about that in a bit. Deltarune just breaks a lot of stereotypes of how people should be, or like how they are. They have a wide range of different kinds of people, and that's always good to have and good to show. And God of War, the new version of it.
Can I add about Metroid something? Depending on what interpretation you go, it can also be the first lesbian and trans woman in video games, because the author, the lesbian, basically in the manga, nobody knew the gender of the main character, and they just put the Sam in next to two babes to show that she has a girlfriend, And the trans one was kind of mean because they used the new half, which is a slur in Japan, just to like piss off the fans, but some fans took it as a win for that. So
Okay, well times.
it was. Also, there was a lot of Nintendo trans characters like Birdo. There is also Poison. There is also Lady Ginkgo from Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoners, if I remember. Back when America was more censorship than Japan, like in American dub, it's a lady voicing, but in Japanese, it's a guy voicing a trans character.
Yeah, I think that's something you could also do. I have like something in a bit about like queer icons from different times, and I think one of them you mentioned should be. But I get there in 3 slides. The first one is talking about fathers from 2003. It's a Christmas story about a trans person, trans homeless people, and how they return a child to their parents. It's a really heartfelt movie. And next one is Celeste, female protagonist, and it's also featuring a lot of mental health and how to deal with those kind of things. And the Iliad, I mean, I think that's a bit of an older example, but it's featuring the struggle of war. It's very anti-war, and it also features the deep friendship, right? That's how they like to censor these kind of things. But yeah, they were crazy for each
I would
other.
burn an entire country for my best friend. Yes, and then I would not allow anybody to dance for 40 years if he died. Yes, just a good friend, very good friend.
Yeah. So I have like a quick thingy here for modern queer icons. There's a bunch of different characters in there. Maybe some you know, some you don't.
Mrs. Bubblegum should not appear on anything. She's mega people. She's really bad.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but that can also be sometimes part, but we're not getting too deep into that part. I just want to say like there's a couple of really cool characters and like things that we grew up with that maybe wasn't that clear when you grew up as a kid, but we got it. Like I'm really happy for people that we got for the characters in the media. Those are mostly shows. I didn't play as many games. I had like my other niche of games that did barely had story. So I think that's something, a thread that we could do as well on Discord, to show different characters that that are from the LGBTQI community.
You know, that's a good example, right? There are Alfie and Undying, the most wonderful couple.
That is true. That is
It's Canada.
Yeah, it
They
is.
almost kiss. Torian got it away, but they almost kiss.
Also,
Yeah.
King Kitsuragi, what is it?
Yeah.
King Kitsuragi.
It's a non-exhaustive list, I think. And we should make a really long list about this, right? Just to add all the characters that we know and all put there, because I think it's cool, at least as a wrap up.
I mean, Hercules is also bisexual.
It's the Greek mythology, right? Like,
Everybody.
Yeah,
So,
No, and an innumerable number of boyfriend and girlfriend.
So at the end he married the
No, I don't mean the
Ah,
cartoon, I mean the
What
original
cartoon?
myth.
The original myth, yeah. At the end he marries the goddess of youth.
Yeah.
But he also had a lot of boyfriends, yeah, I know. And one of them died and he was like, no! And he killed a lot.
No, my best friend.
tragedies.
I have really best friends. What's with the Hat and Time gift? I haven't
So-
seen that in a while.
So this is I wanted to be part of games that have some kind of like representation. I want to start with Reversal Ring in Dark Souls, where you can put that on and now you can do opposites gender actions. So I want to call this the gender affirming ring. In Guild Wars 2, it's a relatively big MMO. They have two female characters and they get married sometime later in the story, but it's not part of anything big. It just happens. And they also have a character that is physically disabled, and it's also not part of the main story, but it's who makes them who they are. And in Hat in Time, they have really difficult jumping puzzles, and they have a screen that you can put on just to calm down and relax. They play really relaxed music. So it's also like that teaches you to slow down and think about your mental health and not go crazy.
It always seemed insulting to me.
Just like the
Yeah.
Nukem baby difficulty.
Yeah, that's the question. There's text that is fairly supportive, but also a bit crushing.
It
It says
doesn't-
no one is there to help you.
It doesn't feel, no one's there to
But you can help, just peace and tranquility. You can get through it, right? It's the spirit of Dark Souls. It's overcoming the difficulty. But up to you how you read it, I think.
Depends on how frustrating.
Yeah. So representation is really important. This is a long post. Don't read it. It's fine. But what this talks about is how people feel when they are represented. And most people are white here, white men. So it's easy to feel represented. But it's maybe how you feel like when Dracula is mentioned, or it's like an easy one. It's like, oh, Romania mentioned, right? And this
You
is
can
what,
go to Sigishwar and Tomodachi life.
Oh, I
Yeah.
can tell you how Russians feel. They're like, the Russians are the villains in this movie game, whatever. Yes, we're the villains!
you think they practice the evil accent as well in front of the mirror, like
No, like if you have like a Eastern European sad with vodka, all the Russians are there in the comments.
Yeah, that's literally me, man.
yeah. So this is what it means to be represented, right? And we could have more for women, we could have more for black people, right? This is why Wonder Woman and Black Panther are a good example of representing. Wonder Woman maybe not as good, like there's a couple movies now. This is like a personal opinion, but there's a bunch of remakes and like female-led like protagonist shows where they just give them straight up power and make them powerful. I think that was the biggest betrayal we had, for example, for Mulan. The original one was where she joined the army, she got strong, she powered through it, even though she was a woman, she did all the things the men did, and then rose the ranks inside. And in the remake, they just gave her magical powers that just did that. That happens in a lot of new shows for women, and I think that takes away what women can accomplish by doing things, by like trusting in themselves. So you also gotta make sure that the representation is right, and it's in good spirit. So to make creative projects like this, it always helps to have a diverse team, and the more people you can get into your team, the better, or at least include in the development process or in the ideation point. Right? Because solving complex problems requires creativity. And you can get a bunch of different minds together that experience life in a couple different ways to get more angles, more viewpoints on how to tackle problems. Right? We all come with implicit biases about how things work and how they should be. And those damage creativity and your game making part. So the broader the team, the bigger the creative potential for it. As an example, if you make a horror game and it should be dark and scary, you can ask a woman how she feels at night, and she can give you a couple ideas of how to make that even more scary, right? And that's just that part. Right? So we have so many different types of people with different ideas of scary, and I think games are all about exploring that. And as a game designer specifically, it's about creating these feelings and making them into experienceable feelings for others. So we could make the 20th Call of Duty, and it's the same kind of arcade shooter, or we could make different types of games that are all very unique and interesting in their own kind of way. We can make a full queer shooter game called Sorry We're Closed. Absolutely amazing art, by the way.
Is it a shooter, not a
It's a
horror?
yeah, Resident Evil type of third-person weird camera in the room kind of a bit shooter, but not like
I
an
would
action shooter.
compare it more to Silent Hill, but yes.
Yeah. Then Baldur's Gate, I think, is another big game example of how to do queer representation. Signalist, with some games they also do represent it in the game, but others also like gather a really big community of queer people because they feel like it's a safe space and a community to grow around. And Signalist was, in my experience, like one of the bigger ones when it came out. Coffee Talk as well is very about inclusivity, about all the different cultures. Celeste earlier, web fishing also has a big community around. Night in the Woods is about finding out that about yourself as well. Gilmos, to some extent, they're very inclusive. They are one of the most inclusive companies out there. And the whole game design is based around inclusivity, right? If you take World of Warcraft, for example, and someone is doing like killing a little mob, you can go and take the last hit, and you get all the XP, all the drops, everything.
You figure that out.
Yeah, and Guild Wars, this was never the case, it will never be the case. It's the fundamental part, is whenever you attack something, you both get full rewards for it. If you revive someone, you get XP for it. All the events are shared and better together. And the game is built ground up with inclusion in mind.
They did fix that in WoW, partially because Guild Wars fixed it, and then they just followed.
Yeah. Yeah, the Guild Wars devs were World of Warcraft devs, and they thought like, hey, we want something nice to this. And that's how that came to be. And it's also one of the companies where they only have seniors because they all started with Guild Wars and stayed with Guild Wars. They call them boomerangs, because sometimes they go, but they come back. And it's just
be a boomerang.
yeah. And then Monster Prom, I played that somewhat recently, and I thought that was a crazy idea. I never thought that would work. It's a roguelike narrative dating sim that you can play as multiplayer. So you just need to get a prom partner until the end of the school year, and it's like randomized. You to like find the right people, the right opportunities. Yeah.
The first game is published by Romanians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
And the second game, they went independent with the Patreon. The second game is the best one. And the third game is a road trip, which features one of the most heart-wrenching ending DLC in the DLC. And the fourth one was just released this year, which is MonsterCon. And all of these games reference a lot of references to other medias, and also there's a lot of. I really love one of the characters that you can meet is as an event is a capitalist evil devil pig who has like a slave that walks him around like a horse. Yeah, and he always say that I'm gonna buy this, I'm gonna make it a more. So every time you have to like thwart his advances, his plan.
Yeah. So
Also,
crazy character designs all over in every like franchise.
and I want to mention that there is a guy that I don't remember his name. He's the red love interest, and he has two dads. And his favorite place is it's spoilers, but it's a tree full of dicks. He's not gay.
One stop from everyone. So to wrap things up a bit is how do we get to more inclusive space, and how can we make sure that what we do is more inclusive? It's first up, it's really difficult. It's really difficult because it challenges everything you are kind of like aware of. So you need to be self-aware about things that you see and the things you consume and how you view things. You need to unlearn all your socializations, all the things that you learned before. It has always been this way. It's not always. It's been since the colonizers came. Right? It's like since when? You need to understand why things are happening a certain way and challenge them. You need to address your own privilege. We're European. We have privileges. We also have non-privileges. I think Eastern Europe is being taken advantage of Western Europe, right? And those are also things that you need to be aware of, and also with how your culture got changed over time. That's what that means. We all face different obstacles. Even within Romania, everyone faces different problems, and we need to realize what problems we are specifically facing and how we can get around them. So to do that, we can ask around broadly. We can be open-minded to people and their ideas and their concepts and their struggles, and take a lot of different feedback from a lot of different people. And the most important one, probably in my opinion, is practice empathizing. this goes like you learn so much for life in general if you learn how to see another person or another thing and try to empathize and into that perspective and feel how they felt. This is a really important part of game development and game design specifically, where you are creating feelings that other people should feel. And if you want to make realistic and good experiences, you need to be good at empathizing. So there's never too little to learn, and I think it does take a little while to get good at this and to expand and to learn all these things, but I think that's where we're getting, and I think it's great that we're also getting the space going. Yeah, including all the people.